In stage 58 of pack 17 we're going to be assembling the left turbocharger. So look very carefully at the sprue that came with this stage and remove the right side turbofan, which is this tiny little thing here, and then at the same time we want to remove also L1 from the sprue as well, which is this tiny little part here. Okay, take the two turbocharger halves, alright, and then just scrape off the paint as shown here. Alright, and once you've done that, test fit it, and you'll notice that there's a tiny little notch, so it will only go in effect in one way. Alright, there you go. And then remove, if you can just see this, remove a small piece of the paint just on that central part. Okay, once you've done that, glue those two parts together. Okay, now once you've glued those together, take the small tiny little fan, and you'll notice it should have a square end, and that square end goes in to the center of the turbo charger. Okay, and glue that down into position. Once you've done that, take part L4, just carefully remove some of the paint as shown in the instructions from the center. Okay, and then once you've done that, just noticing the orientation so that the bottom of the turbocharger is at the bottom here, and this pipe, okay, so the blue pipe's at the top and you've got the down pipe facing down, and once you've done that, just glue that into position. Okay, once you've done that, you should have your completed turbocharger that looks like that. Okay. Next we're going to be connecting the fuel pipe, so just notice that before you cut them off of the sprue that you've got the right hand side and the left hand side. Okay, now follow the instructions and the next set sequence of photographs, alright, and showing how the placement of the fuel pipes go. Alright, and then once we've done that, we'll come back and we'll then fit the fuel pipe and the fuel line onto the main engine. Now, as you can see here, we've now got the fuel lines on. Okay, so once they're on, notice how they go up at an angle as well slightly. Once that's done, allow that to thoroughly dry before we move on to the final part of this stage. Now, once your fuel line is fully dried, we're then going to be attaching it to the top of the engine. Okay, so closely looking at the instructions on the positioning of the fuel line and how that fits in, making sure that everything passes through, okay, the rest of the fuel lines, etc. And then once you've done that, just do one side at a time, and then once you've done that, glue them down into position so that everything fits in there nicely. Okay, and then once that's done, you have your fuel lines that are all connected up like so. Okay, and that completes this stage.